Okay, we had another big trade in the NFL today. Carson Wentz finally got traded, as expected. He went to the Colts to be reunited with Frank Reich, and God, I should have checked. It was like a third rounder this year, and then like a conditional pick next year that could become a first round pick, depending on playing time, I think, and maybe if the Colts make the playoffs. So there's a there's a couple of variables in there, but so cue the latest round of, well, what does that mean we could get for Kirk? I'm here to tell you that I don't fucking care what we could get for Kirk. I do not want to trade Kirk Cousins, and I would say I'm flabbergasted that so many Vikings fans want to trade him, but at this point, it's not surprising because this fan base is insane. Um, because like just today, if you see another rumor, not even a rumor, like just a desperate clickbait thing from which sports station in town that maybe we're going to trade him to the Broncos now. No, we're not. I'm so tired of this. Like, you know, Kirk Cousins is not going to be traded. He shouldn't be traded. The only scenario in which I would be okay with trading Kirk Cousins if it somehow meant that in some sort of reasonable trade, not trading Cousins and like 5 first round picks. If there's some way that maybe we would get Deshaun Watson without having to give up too terribly much. That's the only scenario that's reasonable. I mean, like I trade him for Patrick Mahomes. I mean, you call up Kansas City, say, hey, you want to trade Mahomes? I mean, he didn't look very good in the Super Bowl. Why don't you give him to us? Like, okay, I'd maybe do that, but like anything that's even vaguely realistic, the only thing I would do with Kirk would be in some sort of trade scenario in which we get a Deshaun Watson for a reasonable haul, not this, let's trade 5 first round picks and a bunch of players scenario. It's not happening. I don't want it to happen. But other than that, I don't fucking want to trade Kirk Cousins. Just stop. Like, because that's now with the Wentz trade, and of course with the Stafford Goff thing a few weeks ago, it's like, oh well, so no, what does that mean we can get for Kirk? Because Kirk's, he's got to be as good as Stafford. He's got to be better than Wentz. So that means we should get multiple first round picks. I don't think you would get that. I don't like. You never know what you can get. I didn't think we'd get a first round pick for Stephon Diggs. I didn't think that was even possible. I didn't think years ago that we would get a first round pick for Percy Harvin. Sometimes all it takes is one team willing to really, really, wow you with an offer. And who knows, maybe some team out there will do that for Kirk. I doubt it. I mean, I have no idea what it would take, in the Vikings front office for some, if say the 49ers or the Broncos or I don't even know what other team, maybe the Texans or whoever, if they called you up and said, "Hey, we'll give you 2 first round picks for Kirk Cousins," I don't know what they would do. I mean, like I don't. People are just obsessed with this cap thing. Like, yeah, he's got a big cap number, and he's got a real big cap number year after next if he's on the roster by, I think it's March 19th, like basically when the league year begins. So, and then that becomes guaranteed. Like, as if that matters, you could just rework his contract and essentially kick the can down the road. And I know nobody wants to hear about that, but like you can do it. And now I believe today they've announced officially that the cap isn't going down as much as a lot of people were expecting. Like it's going to be like 180 million. So the Vikings have, they have some work to do to get down to that number, but that's very doable. They Rudolph and Eric Wilson, Anthony Harris, a couple other guys, they're out of here. Um, so that's not even really a concern. Like they'll get down to the cap easily, even with the money that Kirk's making. And I know everyone wants to blame Kirk because he's destroyed the team with his greed and his cap number. It's like you're wrong. You've been wrong. You're going to continue to be wrong, and I'm going to keep telling you that you're wrong, and you're going to keep not listening. Um, like even today, I was seeing some comment on a Facebook like Rick Spielman destroyed this team. Like, oh no, he didn't. Just shut up. Um, God, these people. It's the middle of February. I shouldn't be dealing with. I shouldn't be, being put at my wits end by Vikings fans. But here we are. But again, I'm not trading Kirk unless it's a wow deal. Because let's say you trade Kirk, but you're not getting Deshaun Watson back, or maybe you're not even getting like Jimmy Garoppolo. I'd seen various rumors, mostly BS rumors, but hey, um, that maybe we would make some deal with the 49ers and we would get Garoppolo, they'd get Cousins, and there'd be picks going back and forth. Like, because they're not going to just forego next season. I mean, like, there's no reason to do that. Because this, no one wants to hear this either, but they're going to get a lot of guys back. They have a chance to be a good team next year. So you're not going to just, forfeit the season just to, I guess, chase a first round pick. I mean, I don't know if some team in the top 5 wants to trade you their first round pick for Kirk Cousins. I suppose you at least consider it for a moment, but I'm not doing it. Like, everyone's just obsessed with this whole cap thing and the cap number, and Kirk's killing our cap and cap. It's like, no, he's not. Like, we're gonna be fine. Like, I can't believe at this point we are still, you'd say what you want about Rick Spielman and Zimmer in the front office and everybody. They always figure it out with the cap. And yeah, some of the times the way they figure it out is they kind of kick the can down the road a little bit. And sometimes you kick, eventually, you kick the can down the road, you might hit a wall eventually. And they kind of did last year. But, again, they didn't lose anybody last year that was not losable, like it was all either guys you're not going to give break the bank money to like Trey Waynes, or it's aging veterans like a Rhodes or a Joseph, or it's just kind of just guys like like a Mackenzie Alexander or J.M. Curse, some of these guys, Sendejo, you know, um, you know, they haven't lost anybody that I can think of due to the Kirk contract that they probably wouldn't have let go anyway, at least at the money that they would have had to pay. And now, like, coming up in this offseason, Kyle Rudolph is probably gone. He probably would be gone anyway because you've got Irv Smith, you've got Conklin, and Rudolph's just getting to the age where he kind of just it's over. Anthony Harris would probably be gone anyway. Eric Wilson would probably be gone anyway. Like, the only guy who they might, lose or have to lose that I'd kind of like to keep is Reef, but, now they did this thing where they gave him his bonus, his playing time bonus, a week or two ago that he didn't make because he missed the last game because of COVID. I don't think you're doing that if you're not planning to keep him, so I think they're planning to rework his deal in some way or extend him, and that's cool. But they're not going to lose anybody this offseason who you really desperately want to keep. Like, your core guys are all sticking around unless a trade offer comes up. And like, I made a video probably close to a year ago where I was just like, Stefon Diggs is not being traded. And then Stefon Diggs was traded because a great trade offer came up. They weren't going to just trade Stefon Diggs. Good old Stefon Diggs. They were not going to trade Stefon Diggs for any offer. But Buffalo came in and gave him a first and a bunch of other picks, and they're like, okay, let's do it. And that worked out great because we got Justin Jefferson out of the deal. And who knows, maybe they would have taken Jefferson too, and we would have had Jefferson, Diggs, and Thielen last year, and it would have been wonderful. But, they haven't lost anybody because of the Kirk contract, and they're not going to because that's just not how it is. And people think that, Rick Spielman and his cap gurus and the wizards and all that they're all sitting there at the Egan office, and they're just like running around the room panicked because, oh my God, what are we going to do? We didn't see this coming at all. Well, yeah, you did. They always see it coming. Like they're prepared. They may not always make the right move. They may not always make the right signing or the right draft pick, but they always figure it out with the cap. And so, it's like the number one thing the people who desperately want to trade Kirk Cousins is look at his cap number. Look at he's what 45 million next year. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? I don't know what they're gonna do. They'll figure it out. Whether they can extend him for another year, a couple of years. I don't know. I would be fine extending him. You're not gonna just you know they're not gonna just blow up the franchise to chase a rookie quarterback or mortgage the whole future to get a Deshaun Watson. And again, look, if it's 1-to-1, I would take Watson over Cousins. But it ain't going to happen that way. You're not going to just get him straight up and maybe swap a draft pick here and there. You would have to give up a lot. And I know the Texans are kind of, playing hardball, saying, "Oh, we're not going to trade him." They're probably going to trade him. That's just that's just the game. You got to say that you're not trading him, because if you say that you're trading him, well then the value that you're going to get in the trade goes down. So you can't do that. Just like, everyone, rips Spielman for like saying, "Oh, we have no intention of trading Stephon Diggs. We have no intention of trading Percy Harvin. We have no intention of trading Kirk Cousins." Well, yeah, you at the time maybe you don't, but then if you get an offer, hey, everybody's tradable. You could trade. I would trade Justin Jefferson for the right deal. I would trade Daniel Hunter for the right deal. I would even trade Kirk Cousins if it's the right deal. I don't think you're going to get a deal that's worth that at all. And I'm sorry, these fans who want to just blow it all up and chase the fantasy of a Deshaun Watson, or chase the fantasy that you're going to draft the next Patrick Mahomes. It's not going to happen. like like I know everyone wants to live in this fantasy world where you're going to trade or just release Kirk Cousins. There's people who just want to release him. You're going to get rid of Kirk Cousins, and the next guy you bring in is going to be just amazing. He's going to be Patrick Mahomes, and he's going to lead you to Super Bowls. Like, how often does the fantasy come true? Like, that's not going to happen. Like, they're not going to do this just because you want them to do it. And it's like, would you want? I mean, I would have to think that Kirk Cousins would have much more trade value than a Carson Wentz, because Carson Wentz was literally benched this past year, and he's got, I don't know his contract details exactly, but he's certainly got more money left on his contract than Kirk does. And I think I saw the Eagles are still paying a whole bunch of that money even after trading him. So it's like, there wasn't obviously a ton of trade value out there for Wentz, when that's the best you can get for a guy who was a top 2 pick. I forget if he was 1 or 2, but and was a near MVP a few years ago. And I think Kirk would certainly merit more in a trade, but I'm not willing to trade. Like I have to be wowed. Like, if it's a Stafford Goff thing, and you get you really get a haul, I'd listen to the trade proposal, but the last thing in the world I am is desperate to trade Kirk Cousins to chase after whatever quarterback is out there in the market. Russell Wilson's name is out there too. I mean, I suppose if he's gettable for a reasonable haul, I would take Russell Wilson over Kirk Cousins. But like these are fantasies. These aren't this stuff is just not reality. I don't think all these guys who are supposedly on the market are all going to get traded and all change teams. I mean, even Aaron Rodgers has been talked about as being traded maybe. Like, that's just stuff is not going to all happen. And I already know how it's going to be when the dust settles here, and we're still like a month from free agency, I think. And obviously we're a couple months from the draft. I know when the dust settles and we get to like May and Kirk Cousins is still the quarterback of the Vikings, I mean, this fan base is eternally angry and pissed off and mad, but they're going to be even more so because they've let themselves believe now for weeks, and it'll be months by that time, that we're going to get rid of this horrible quarterback that we have with the horrible contract, who can't win a Super Bowl ever, and he can't win any games, and he can't do this, and he can't do that. And, he's still going to be the guy. And, like, I, there's a much better chance at this point of them giving him another extension than there is of him being traded. Now I hope that if there is another extension, that Kirk is helpful to the team with the cap. I mean, like, again, football players, I never rip on for trying to get paid, because it's a dangerous sport. You can get out there, take one hit, and you're in trouble. And Kirk's been very healthy, so that I don't think is as much of a concern with him. But I mean, he takes a bunch of hits behind a bad offensive line, like this stuff happens to players. Like, they can get hurt, and look at Carson Wentz. He got hurt in the middle of a possible MVP season, and he's just never been the same. And maybe it's not just the injury, but he's never been the same since. And he got his big contract, and like, has he lived up to his contract? No, but that was his chance, and he got paid, and that's fine. Like, that's maybe in other sports, if a guy tries to get paid above anything else, maybe they're rippable. But I really don't see it that way in football. Like, football players are much more of a risk than basketball players or baseball players. That's just the way it is, and I don't have a problem with Kirk Cousins getting paid. And of course, no one ever wants to hear this, but he took less money to come here. Like, he would have been getting paid a lot more by the Jets. But it's like, oh, he hasn't lived up to his contract. He's played up to his contract. He just has. Now, if he gets paid $45 million next year, would he live up to $45 million? I don't know. But it's another one of these things. Like, people are freaking out about, oh my God, he's gonna have all this money guaranteed if he's still on the team as of March 19th. Yeah, but he's not going to play at $45 million. They'll do something, even if it's just another 1-year extension, even if it's kicking the can down the road again. He's not going to take up that degree of cap space. So it's just a fake thing to worry about, and all Vikings fans ever want to do is freak out about stuff, but like, there's no reason to freak out about this. You don't need to dump Kirk in a salary dump because of, oh, he's got $45 million on the cap for 2022. You don't, because he's not going to get that money as a hit on the cap. It's just, oh God. Oh, this fucking fan base, I swear to God. It's like, he's a very good quarterback, and we're desperate, and so many of this fan base is just desperate to get rid of him all the time. Any even hint that there could be a possible trade out there, and people are just ravenous, like, do it, Rick. Make the trade, save us. Like, we may not win a Super Bowl with Kirk Cousins, but Kirk Cousins is not going to be the reason we do not win a Super Bowl if we don't. He's just not. He's one of the best players on the team. He's certainly top 10-ish quarterback. I mean, he stunk. He kind of stunk a couple games early in the season this past year, but he was very, very good for the last 2/3 of the season. He ain't the reason we didn't make the playoffs, people. And hopefully with the Kubiak spawn as the OC, we can have a little better play calling in certain spots. And I know offensive line needs to be addressed. It always does. It always will be. I mean, they're going to do something with the offensive line. We'll see exactly what it is, but you know, I don't know what they'll be able to do in free agency, um, and obviously with the draft, like they're going to do something with certainly the guards. Like I think you're pretty good at your two tackles if Reef stays. You got Reef and O'Neal. People are really down on Bradbury. I think Bradbury's fine. He needs to not be left out to dry with awful guard play. And maybe we'll see if they keep Cleveland at a guard. And you know, obviously they need at least one guard. But and these are ongoing problems with the offensive line. But you know, I also think better coaching could help with that. So you know, and even with all the problems this past year with the offensive line and lack of practice time and stuff, Kirk had a great year, and he helped Justin Jefferson set records. And most of this fan base just desperately wants to get rid of him so we can bring in a rookie who might be the next Jamarcus Russell. I just don't get it. Or they want to mortgage our whole future to get you know a Deshaun Watson, or I suppose even a Russell Wilson. What are the problems that Wilson and Watson are having in their situations now? The offensive lines are getting them killed. You think one of them wants to come here then and play behind a bad offensive line when we just emptied out our high end draft picks for years to get them? It's like, just no one wants to hear it because everyone wants the shiny new toy, and Kirk is no longer the shiny new toy. Of course, even when he was the shiny new toy, everybody fucking hated him. But you know, it's less, I guess, interesting talker to just run it back with the same quarterback. But that's the smart play. It just is. Unless you are absolutely wowed by something, or you have just an amazing opportunity to get a Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson without having to give up much. And like the I don't think either of those things are going to happen. I don't think those opportunities are going to present themselves. And we're going to have Kirk Cousins next year, and that's a good thing. People aren't going to think it's a good thing, but it is a good thing. And it'll just mean another full off season of whining, and another regular season of whining, and God forbid we have another 7-9, 8-8 type of season and miss the playoffs. No matter what kind of season Kirk has, it'll be his fault because that's how it is. But man, it's fucking frustrating. Like, just stop. Just stop with stop chasing the fucking fantasy and live in reality, Vikings fans. The reality is we have a pretty damn good quarterback who isn't fucking us in the cap like you think he is. And he's much better on the field than you seem to want to think he is. And there's no way to get through to these people, but like, they gotta just let it go. Like, the Kirk Cousins derangement syndrome that people have in this town. Like, consult your physician. I don't know what to tell you, but we have a good quarterback, and we're going to have a good quarterback. And we haven't won a Super Bowl, but it's not the fault of Kirk Cousins. We were not winning with the circumstances of the last 3 years. We were not winning a Super Bowl with Case Keenum, with Teddy, with one-legged Sam Bradford, or any other guy you thought we might have. So, you need more than the damn quarterback, because guess what? The best quarterback in football just got blown out in a Super Bowl, which, was fucking bullshit. But hey, we've done those videos. But basically, I think I've ranted enough on this, but we're not trading Kirk unless there's some wow deal or an amazing, somehow get a Watson or Wilson on the cheap. These things are not going to happen. they never were going to happen, you have to accept that they're not going to happen. And you know, while while all the Kirk haters spend the rest of the off season and all next season and probably the season after that whining and whining and whining, the Vikings fans who actually know a thing or two about football will sit here and be like, I'm really glad we have Kirk Cousins because he's a good quarterback. And hey, win or lose, he's the best guy to lead this team.